Okay. Yeah. Good morning, my friends. I'm Fernando Zacarias, the Executive Director and Principal Mentor of Multipod Mentoring. Thank you for being with us today. We are going to have a very, I expect, productive and fun meeting. I'm going to be a fly on the wall, but I would like to give you the perspective of men, at the end of your discussions. So I'm going to disappear, but listen to you all the time. And the first point would be for us to introduce ourselves. The main part of the meeting today is a forum, a discussion, a working group on gender and power or gender issues, because we want to introduce that component into the program. And we are fortunate that we have with us Molly Fitzgerald, whom many of you already know, but she's the one who is going to be conducting the meeting, the proceedings. So without further ado, I will ask Molly to introduce herself before everybody, because she's one of the speakers. She's the main conductor and coordinator of the meeting. Okay. Please, Molly.
Well, thank you, and it's nice to see you all. I'm Molly Fitzgerald, and I have been with the Multipod mentoring program for a few years as a mentor. I don't know how many years, 3 maybe, and have been working in global health.
Not enough.
Not enough. Yes, I wish I had been with it longer, but and also am a global and community health specialist. And I have a particular interest in sort of equity and inclusion and how we can, ensure that we're doing that in programs and in life and communities. So nice to meet you all. And can we go around the room? Should I tag someone else or?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm just going to the pink because it matches my glasses, Anna Lee.
Okay. So hello everyone. Nice to meet you. I think I kind of know everyone here in the meeting. My name is Anaili. I'm from Colombia. I'm the program officer of Multipod Mentoring. My professional background is, I would say, messy. I have a degree in international business, and then now I'm doing a master related to youth work. So here in Spain. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. You want to tag someone?
Yeah, please, Yelena.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Yelena. I am based in Serbia, particularly Belgrade, which is the capital. I am the vice president of one organization that also deals with global health, and that is Coalition for Global Health Innovation. And we are a youth-led organization, and we have a lot of young professionals from all over the world. Besides that, my professional background, I'm looking to graduate this year with a master's in pharmaceutical sciences. But unfortunately, the universities in Serbia are currently blocked due to student-led protests that are happening nationwide. So that is kind of on pause at the moment. But I'm really happy to explore more of my professional background with global health, public health, and particularly the work of young professionals. I'm very happy to be here with you all. And yes, I should pass the ball on, maybe Arleti.
Hi, I'm Arleti. I'm originally from Panama, but lived more than 3 decades abroad. My initial career was as a physician, psychiatrist, and sexologist, mainly in Brazil. I ended up going into public health because of HIV in 1982, and that led me to my second career, global health, which took me all over, working for different types of organizations, from NGOs to the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria, where I was one of the founding directors in charge of Latin America and Eastern Europe. So Yelena, yes, I know Serbia very well, and it's wonderful to see you progressing each time more. And later at UNFPA, I am back in Panama, and I have embraced more. I work more with technology, health, bridging health, technology, and social development, but with a special focus in aging. And that has been what developing community-based responses for using a silver economy lens, and also working with centenarians. This is a side research, but that I find that it's the future of the world, looking at the genetic traits of centenarians and what can we learn from the protective genes for not only chronic disease management, but also infectious disease solutions in the future. But anyway, always keeping myself busy with new things.
Um,
And I'm keeping my camera off because my internet is flaky today, so I just want to be sure I'm not cut off. Not because I don't want to see you guys.
no problem. Thank you so much. I love all those topics, by the way. Hope to reach out to you to be my mentor. So there's one more person. Sorry, I'm just seeing the Mesner, but who is that?
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Madeline Eisner. I have.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. I haven't changed it yet. My name is Madeline Eisner. My background is journalism, human rights, and communication and advocacy. I currently am a consultant with Rain Barrel Communication on social and behavioral change. I worked for over 25 years with UNICEF in the communication and advocacy field, and I'm in 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 headquarters here in Africa and Asia and Latin America. I'm interested in what you're going to say. Of course, at UNICEF we looked very much at gender, and in certain areas that I worked, particularly in Africa with Stephen Lewis on HIV/AIDS. We had a very, very strong focus. In fact, it was Stephen Lewis who had convinced Peter Piot to look at the issue of women and girls and HIV/AIDS, and also particularly when I was leading a campaign on violence against children. Of course, that also looked at that optic. So I'm interested in hearing about the whole area of gender, which, of course, in certain areas focuses on girls and women. I think in certain places like Jamaica actually focuses on men and boys. So I'm interested in hearing how the discussion has advanced.
Awesome. I think that's everyone, right? Well, we have such an amazing group. So should I go ahead, Fernando? Thank you so much, everyone. We have such an incredible group here. And so I want to just say right up front, Madeline, I hate to disappoint you, but I think we're gonna be learning more from each other. We could prepare a presentation, but I think it sounds like we have so much knowledge and expertise in the room. So we can sort of get on the same page about some things, but I'm hoping just with a little bit of time, and can people see the screen now, the slides?
Yes.
They see the first slide. Let me start. Hold on. I think you're seeing the whole thing, right? Oh, there we go. So yes, disclaimer right up front. This is mostly just an orienting session, and I think the interest was, to really think about, given that we, recognize, value, and embrace diversity, obviously like geographic diversity. And I think there's even, you can just see on these few people on this call, there's like such a vast kind of disciplinary diversity. And mentors and mentees, I think, are both, from my experience, have like, traversed just in their own single careers often, or schooling, lots of different areas. So we're kind of leveraging and valuing that, and which I think is increasingly essential in like addressing all aspects of planetary health, global, human, and planetary health. And especially probably now that there's a lot of, I think, pushback on like equity and inclusion and belonging in communities. And it's probably more important than ever for us to think about that. So the thinking, and really just to emphasize, this is really more of a discussion to kind of check in with you all to see like how you're feeling about this as you participate in the program as mentors or mentees, but thinking about it both from the program perspective, like in the mentorships, like as mentees and mentors are finding out about the program, being recruited into it and participating in it. How are we looking at gender equity and social inclusion? And I like to think of gender personally, broadly, not just as, boys and girls and men and women, but like gender, so that we're including that whole range of gender diversity. But again, let's talk about that. And so then what's some of the evidence, and how are we doing programmatically? How can we move towards greater gender transformation? I have a slide just to make sure we're all on the same page about kind of like scale. And then should we, and if so, how should we? Also, given that we don't, we're not like, we don't at present have like massive funding to do some of the things that actually cost money. It costs money to do gender transformation. But what's some of the low-hanging fruit that we're more excited about and able to integrate? So maybe I'll just stop there quickly and check in with everyone. Does this work for everyone for today, or is there something oh, sorry. Well, I've accidentally gone on to the next page, but this was sort of how we were going to approach it. But does this work for everyone, or are there things you'd like to add? Sorry, my screen is so sensitive.
I think it's fine.
Everyone? Okay, all right. I'm sorry, my screen is so sensitive, it moves on by itself almost. But yeah, so these were the questions that that we were hoping to discuss, but I mean, I guess we could just to here, and these slides are not original. The references where I've gotten from are below, but just to maybe quickly like sort of get on the same page, I think, and this does say women and girls, but as I said, I do see it as, gender norms affect everyone, whether you're identifying as, no matter how you're identifying. So like the idea, I think, for me, what's important is we want to like do no harm, we want to do no harm in our program, particularly like in the mentoring context. We don't want to be reinforcing negative or stereotypes. And so we want to move along the scale. And this is kind of how I've been used to thinking of it. and gender transformation is, you know, the ideal, but I think it's not realistic necessarily just to say, oh, we're just going to do gender transformative programming. I don't actually think we're going to be able to just straight away do that, but trying to figure out where we all think we are on this scale and how we can move towards it. So are people, I'm guessing most of you are really familiar with this, but are people familiar with it, or are there things that is this a familiar framework for most of you, or are there questions about it? Oh, sorry, gosh. Anybody? Madeline, I see your things on.
Well, I don't know. For me, it's something new, something that I haven't considered before, like specifically in those type of categories. So if you can just give a little bit of um, context or explanation about what each of those concepts means, would be great. I will
Okay,
appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, no, thank you. Okay, so yeah, like I think you know, gender discriminatory programs I think would fall obviously in the category of doing harm. So if we're, for example, you know, if we were breaking into, we were saying, okay, we're gonna have like, we're gonna mentor the women on how to be caregivers, and we're gonna, I mean, just sort of like reinforcing the stereotypes by aligning the program with the stereotypes, I think is how you can sort of end up doing that. And there's more, I think some of the more like thoughtful considerations about this include where you might do it less intentionally. So for example, if you're reporting on facts, like say you're like, okay, we found that you know, we haven't done, to my knowledge, this in-depth kind of review of a lot of the specifics within this program that I know of. But say, for example, and I'm saying this as a caregiver, say we find that, like, you know, a lot of we're not able to capture a lot of, you know, women have like multiple caregiving roles, and then we report on that, and we give a case study, and we say, yes, for example, the women, well, sometimes you can inadvertently reinforce this stereotype by using the stereotype to like describe what's going on. So it's like about being gender aware, I think, of, you know, that sort of implicit bias, like that we all have, whether we're, no matter what our gender is, we have those implicit biases. So, you know, and we discussed that with even just this first group, like we're meeting with women, right? It happens that most of us are women, except for, you know, Dr. Zacharias, but like it's not automatic that we would have a gender transformative program and only consult women. So that's like that area. And then gender blind is when you're, you know, ignoring the differences and not even sort of understanding how you're doing harm. So you know, things that create exclusion because you're not even aware of the dynamics. And then I think another aspect for us to consider is the fact that because we're global, we have like the geographic diversity and age diversity, which is fantastic. Like, it's these dynamics in the places where we're working also play out differently. So so gender sensitive then, you know, is at least moving further. And I would say you know, different needs of all genders instead of, you know, this slide that this is a direct slide from this source. But I would say of all genders. I mean, I used to work for Plan International. That was sort of our language, all genders, which I prefer, honestly. And that you're integrating that, you know, understanding into the program design. So that you're not excluding people, right? Whereas gender responsive is where you move towards, like, so that's kind of like the minimum, I would say, is to be gender sensitive. Like, that's the very minimum that we should consider, even though we've got the whole scale, but I would consider gender discriminatory and gender blind both to be, you know, harmful. And so I would say we would only want to be either gender sensitive, gender responsive, and ideally, you know, moving towards that. So gender responsive is where you're actually, you know, implementing actions. You're actually like intentionally within the design of the program, within the content of the program, and then within like what you're trying to achieve outside of the program, things that are actually addressing those barriers related to gender. And gender transformative is like where you're actually going to the root causes. So it's much more systemic than gender responsive, which could be like, you know, for gender responsive, I think you could have, you know, say like, well, I think even trainings, I guess, sometimes are trying to get at the systemic things in terms of culture and like considering like, you know, attitudes and things like that. But gender transformative is often like very resource intensive because it's actually, you know, it requires funding. It's things like, okay, if we really want to overcome barriers, which are often intersecting, right? Girls are not, say just for example, girls are not, you know, staying in primary school. Well, then you look at like, well, what's the root causes? And sometimes you get to, you know, economics or education or things like that actually have like a financial element to it. Does anybody want to add or dispute something I said? I'm totally open to that and would welcome that.
Yeah, I'd like to pitch in something. I think that this sequence is very important for us to understand where our circle of influence is. And I think that a lot of the efforts have sort of stayed in the elements of awareness raising and some I would even call remedial actions for harm reduction. And it's very difficult to take it to the transformational element. And perhaps one of the reasons of that, I mean, you mentioned, Molly, about caretaking, and that is so essential because caretaking crosses the lifespan of a person, mostly women, because there's sort of like the quote unquote natural caretakers who start taking care of themselves and the partner's children and end up taking care of the elders. But what are the elements in the life cycle that actually permits us to understand gender dynamics better and how to respond and plan with a gender lens better? I think that we do have to move into that transformative part. I think that we haven't done enough to do that. But a lot of the times we just get stuck in the obstacles for gender transformation, like policy or financing, and we forget about elements that we should be able to accumulate over time, like social capital. And I think that social capital is probably one of the most important, if not the more, I'm partial to that. I think it's the most important element, but it also the most vulnerable, because it requires collective energy, collective planning, collective support, and we live in a world that is less and less collective. And but anyway, when I see this element is, and I think about ageism, for instance, it follows exactly the same route. Whether it's female or male oriented, but of course, if it's female, then it even becomes a stronger element. But understanding these facets, I think, I don't know, I've done a lot of thinking, especially in the last few months with all this chaotic global health situation, which I think is actually healthy. I think if we survive it, I mean, we always, we've seen stuff happening many times in our lives, and we know that eventually we overcome it. The issue is, what do we learn in the process? And a lot of the things that we sort of go back is to this segmented, fragmented perspective. So it's gender for young people, gender for gender-based violence, gender for X, Y, and Z. And I think this is a great opportunity to actually look at the collective element of gender rather than the fractured component development. I think we have enough data, we have enough understanding about gender concepts. I think it's the practice of it towards transformation where we get stuck.
I love it. I love it. You said that Anna Yuli and Fernando have been hearing me complain about ageism, and because I'm caring for my mom, and so yes, I'm so on board with all that. I wonder, that idea I've jotted down, and again, I just hope this session can be like sort of a reflection and brainstorming. So I've jotted down this thing that you said about the life cycle, because I don't know, for me, that's come up with several of my people that I've mentored. In your early career, like you maybe one dropped out because she was going to get married and have children. And I'm like, I never planned on caregiving for my mom. I never, ever planned on that. So how do we like take advantage of this intergenerational community that we have, intergenerational, like diverse, to think about like not just for ourselves, but also, how do we, anyway, well, sorry, I'm jumping ahead, and I'm supposed to hear from you and not give my own ideas, but like, I think the exciting thing, one, is that we're intergenerational, and Ayuli and Fernando are gonna laugh because I keep being so excited about that. But two, that we're like, we're like a seed, but we can take that change out into the world, right? So how are we helping each other think about those things and plan for, and if some of us, if people are managing or leading organizations or going on to lead them, how are they considering those things as they like design their organizations? Anyway, okay, number one rule of facilitating, don't talk so much. So apologies, I'm so excited about what you're saying.
Well, if you're ever interested in playing around with the concept of gender and ageism and coming up with something, whatever, just let me know.
I absolutely will, for sure. Do other people have any reactions? I mean, we can go, there are a few other slides if that's helpful to like get us talking, but anything, I don't want to jump ahead because I think this spectrum is sort of the key thing.
I think I'll jump in really quickly. I'm no expert at these topics, so I like everything that I learned, it was kind of self-discovery and researching on these topics. And actually, a few weeks ago, I was invited to a sort of a collaboration with another youth organization that we discussed this topic on like gender-based global health security. And I think this goes back to what Arleti said, that we always watch gender through like separated topics and not as a whole theme or topic or something to address. So I feel like we always watch through like separate
What did you say?
separate things. And I was actually like all of the victims in this global health security that we address were women. So I think that my colleagues who addressed also this topic, they said that we lack some steps, like we know a lot about theory, but then when it comes to practice, there is almost like a gap in between. So I think I would agree on that, that like we might know these things in theory, but then when it comes, like we know the data and everything, but then when it comes to applying these things and creating policies that actually work, or spotting gaps, I think there is a lot of things that need to be addressed, and you need to go back, see where the issues are. So I think that it's the practice that we are lacking in this when addressing gender and power.
That's such a good point, and thank you. And that, I think that actually fits in. There's a yeah, I totally agree with you. There's a report, this is where this is taken from, Gender Justice and Planetary Health. That the link is here, but I'll send it to you because it's a pretty good, I think it's pretty relevant to what you're saying. But I mean, that's what, if we're all addressing, human health and can you guys hear me? It looks like I'm
Yes.
frozen. It's, this sort of justice brings it further along from equity. Justice is really addressing the systems, whereas equity is just kind of like overcoming the barriers. So I think by the same way, Arleti, you were mentioning like sometimes we get situated on the awareness and don't move towards transformation. By the same token, equity is like we need to actually move towards justice a lot of times, and we don't. But this was like their snapshot, which of course it's not specific to mentoring, but it's specific to what we want to go out in the world to do. And just the same way that healthcare workers are part of the health society in which they do health, I think we're also part of our societies. So these were just this report kind of analyzed, these different features, but the main thing I think is about the structural causes, which really gets into this gender transformation and justice. And you can see like there's a lot more work that needs to be done on all the levels. And then I'm actually just going to run on because we're getting so much out of time. I want to make sure you have a lot of time we can brainstorm, but we did look at a systematic review in the specific context of mentoring. This is pretty recent. And some of the issues to consider, they do bring up, as you were saying, Arleti, and also Helena, about the, different concepts of gender and the intersecting areas in terms of the matching. Oh my God. In terms of the matching, and then it also talks about like sort of like the content and then how people are going out into whatever professions, and then also, again, as I was just saying, the need to consider intersectional perspectives within the mentoring. And there's not a lot of answers, and this was, like, as I said, a pretty recent thing. So I think probably what we think about might be maybe we can share it with others. I think we can sort of be at the forefront of this, but there weren't, unfortunately, I felt like there weren't a lot of answers. And so it's interesting that the field is not very advanced in terms of like specifically around mentoring. But that also is kind of exciting because we could help others who are doing mentoring programs, like try to think about this more, you know, usefully. But I mean, so then just going back to the questions, and your thoughts on those, both the scale. Can you guys hear me? I'm like having serious
Yes.
problems on I keep like freezing apparently. Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, it's like saying Zoom.
Oh, I think she's gone.
Yeah, she left.
While Molly comes back, can I give you a few of my thoughts as a man? Okay, as a man and regarding the program. The first question that Molly asked if we had any difficulties with enrollment. And 70% of our mentees are women, and that reflects what is happening in society, and especially in health and medicine in many countries of the world. Still not in Africa, for example, in many countries, but in North America and Latin America, we have had this very rapid change, starting probably 60 years ago with the women's liberation of fecundity, what we'll say, obstacles, because that was one of the sources of societal discrimination and blindness. So enrollment, we have only had 4 or 5 cases in which people did not enroll because of our lack of gender sensitivity in the program. And there were 2 women from North America, young women, and 1 man from the Middle East. And what happened is that we had a case in, oh, okay, Molly's here. So I will give you that at the end, though.
Oh, no, it was I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong. Maybe I'm being silenced.
No,
I'm probably
I was
being
trying to-
silenced because I'm talking about DEI. I don't
Okay.
know.
No, I was trying to answer your question about enrollment in the program. And we had only had 3 cases of women and about 2 cases of men. The 3 cases of women were all mentees, young women, and 2 of them from North America and the other one from Germany. They took issue with one of the questions we have in our application, in which we had a sexist view of something in the 10th or 11th century about King Arthur, etc., and women being pretty and being complimented because of that. And they took issue with that, saying, no, we cannot recommend the program to our friends because you have that sexist attitude. And then the other one was a mentor from the Middle East that was totally 100% misogynist. Misogynist. And another man who didn't know better. And in my own case, I'll talk about my case later at the end, probably. So that was one of the issues, but we have been successful, and we have introduced at least 1 gender question in the application regarding gender disparity in salary. And that is very, very interesting. And we know then a little bit about our mentees. Okay, so I wanted to try to answer that question. Otherwise, we have no problem with enrollment. And we are fortunate that we have more women than men, okay, because it's about time.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, everyone. I don't know what's wrong with my internet or something. So I mean, so you've already started talking about, so that's good. I mean, that already started talking about enrollment. But then also, what are your just overall responses, like thoughts about this, like in terms of how gender and thinking of it intersectionally, I think is really important. Age, I love the life cycle idea, like integrating that somehow. I think it's really important. There's so many ways to explore that, but that's one thing. But what else? Like, what do you think is working well in terms of being, how are we, or where do even people think we're on, where even do people think we are on that spectrum? Like, are we doing harm? Are we gender aware? Are we being gender sensitive? Like you just mentioned, a couple of things. I'm afraid to put the slides back on because I'm afraid I'm gonna freeze us up again. So maybe since we don't have as much time, if we could at least come out with a few more ideas, like and I can circulate these notes maybe in a Google Doc so that we could build on them. But what I've got so far is, in terms of maybe opportunities, thinking about the life cycle opportunities that we can take advantage of are the intergenerational aspect. We also have experts in different aspects of gender. I mean, Madeline, Arlette, all of you have clearly lots of mentors and mentees. And then thinking about the social capital is another one, Arlette, that you just mentioned, because we have social capital within that's the program, is actually like sharing and connecting people with social capital. And then you started earlier as I was getting back on to break it down into enrollment, but then also the content. Like there's probably opportunities to within the webinars to explore some of these things. So what do you guys think?
There's something about mentoring that I think it's not clear for people what it is. And on the other hand, I'm a mentor at Multipod since 2017, but I'm also a mentor in business incubators. And it's very interesting because they're considered separate processes, separate structures. Yes, the structures are different, but nevertheless, the handling of the mentorship is very similar. And I think that the problem with global health or, when we do mentoring in that sphere is that it's considered soft, right? So we're helping, and when we address gender is a soft element. We don't do it hard enough for the world. For instance, when you were putting that, Molly, that article on gender and mentoring and that, I think that would be so useful to present to the business incubators. Because it's a little bit like follow the money, right? Who has the money right now in terms of whatever happens in the world? It's always around. It's really business. It's private sector. But we don't do enough of an advocacy and crossover to the development world because we are sort of like stuck still in development as a soft element, not a hard element. Versus in the gender, we don't do enough of a financial case for gender as we do for other aspects of global health. And unless we start pushing ourselves, it's like languages. If one speaks Chinese and the other one speaks Spanish, there's no way of communicating unless we find a translator. And we right now need desperately to find translators for key elements, and gender being one of them, that are crucial whether you're talking about global health or you're talking about business. When we talk about business and politics, the glass ceiling and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about the glass ceiling. I prefer a thatched hut, But the issue is make it clear and make it evident and make it actionable. We have so much information, so much noise surrounding us, that we really need more action. And when I see the opportunity in Multipod, for instance, is when we take these elements, let's say a gender analysis of the process of mentorship of young people in the global health sphere, we should take it further. We should have that analysis, but take it further. So what are the lessons learned on this that are applied also to business incubators that are also young, that are also looking at the global placement of their products, and where the people that are looking for social impact don't find a niche because it's not an element that is readily identified. So anyway, I think it's those translational elements across fields and across spheres of power. And in this case, we're talking about financial power, which seems to be leading the way nowadays. We have to insert ourselves into there. If not, we're going to be, oh yeah, here come the global health people. Here come, the ones that want to change the world but never do, the type of attitude. So we have to start getting some hard elements and that crossover element to where the hard talk actually happens. It's an advocacy strategy, if you will.
Right. Well, how might we do that? Because I mean, like just that example, you have that social capital, you have that connection. You have people you're, mentoring, I can envision like a thing where like, and then there's more examples, like that's your example, but then there's probably other sectors and other people that have other connections and other things that could also, so like from like the easy, not very actionable to the more actionable, like you want to get everyone on board and having the conversation, but we can also insert ourselves in the conversation. I guess it's really grim now because a lot of the conversations, there's also a push against the conversation even actually happening. That's a whole nother thing, but we're not gonna play into that, of course.
No, I think that it's like different levels. And the first level is what we can control. What can we control? We can control the information and the processes that we do in Multipod, right? That's our sphere of influence, our immediate sphere of influence right now. So what can we extract from that we can consolidate, make it marketable, if you will, and then think about strategically placing that product in the discussions that are of other nature. Yeah, but it starts with us, really. It starts with this, with what we have. I mean, 2017, 2025, it's a lot of information, a lot of effort that requires really placing it as a hard evidence and not just as a nice thing that some retired people decided to do, whatever, no, I'm just, thinking out loud. I'm sorry, I can take it.
Mariana, can I follow up on that? Because I can give you the perspective from the very beginning of the program. I was contemplating a complete renovation, innovation, introduce something that will give us a different element in the program. I talk about enrollment. Now let me talk about rejection. 90% of the applicants rejected are men. okay? And we have finally found out that women are more intelligent at the same age. They mature earlier than men. And that's why men marry younger women, because they want to be in charge. We want to be in charge. And the main point in the program, I think if we introduce not only as a general idea of changing society, but what can we do? Our sphere of control, of influence, are our mentors and our mentees. And if we can get them to become ambassadors, first knowledgeable about the main issues about gender inequity and lack of inclusion, etc., make them aware of that. If we can get them all the way from discrimination to transformative, to transformation, that would be great. And what we need, what I would like to recommend to the group is, I grew up in a completely machista society in Latin America, in Mexico. And then after discriminatory, I was
both
blind.
did. We
I
both
was-
did, Zacarias.
Yeah, I was blind to gender. And finally, at age 50 or older age, I became gender sensitive because I started really knowing, for example, I have shown you this. My heroes are my 5 sisters. I grew up among them, okay? Because my 2 brothers were older and I never related really with them. I grew up with them and my mother and my aunts and my family. I have 2 daughters and a wife, and I still don't understand women. So if we can take 2 extremes, one is what we used to say in Mexico, oh, my wife doesn't understand me. Or I don't understand my wife. And it's the same in the case of women. I don't understand my husband, and I don't understand. I don't understand my husband, and my husband doesn't understand me. But the main point I want to make is that we need to make or try to influence our mentees and mentors in getting to the transformative approach, or at least to the sensitive approach. Because this is not only women. I have 2 grandsons, and both of them are completely clueless about what's going on. And they have problems in high school and college, whereas my 2 granddaughters are thriving and doing very well. And that disparity between males and females is affecting society in general. I had recommended people to get the book Boys and Men, because it's not only about the problem, but it's about what are the possible solutions. And again, if we can introduce that element in the program and help people become more sensitive or transformative and want to do that, and we can give them the knowledge, the elements, the tools to make the transformation and become ambassadors, communicators, and salespersons for this idea. Because otherwise, we are not going to do what I would like to have. Here you see women against assault weapons. I never thought I was going to go to a manifestation, to a parade in Washington, mad mothers against drunk driving. I mean, it's a completely different approach. And we as men, we don't think about that. So what we would like to do, and we are beginning to do, and we see that in the comments of our mentees, for women, is the program Enhance My Self-Confidence, or made me discover my own powers. And another thing that is very interesting is that we have all combinations. We have male mentees being mentored by women, and male by male, and female, male, etc. All kinds of combinations. And in a few cases, young women have asked to have a woman. not only because of the ability to communicate better, the ease of communication, but also because they want to see professional women, successful professional women, and ask them, how did you overcome all the barriers in your generation? How did you do that? And I don't know. I will give you with that idea, with those ideas from a male perspective, because I'm in awe of women, but I don't understand them completely. I don't understand. And you know the old thing that you know one man and you know all men. For me, it's true. Or you know 100 women and you know none. For us, it's very, very difficult to understand the feelings of women, especially the feelings of women, because we don't have the same, in the same manner. We're more aggressive, we have a higher sex drive, etc. And young men now are being confronted with that, which it goes, makes them confused. They don't know what to do. And they're not being as successful. Men are earning less than they used to earn before. They are failing in school. Here in the US, 60, 70% of graduates now are women. Men are falling behind. And even in Denmark, some of the young men are going into the trades like works like plumber, carpenter, etc., because they cannot compete with women. What can we do to make that a different approach to life work? Work in global health, work in development, work in environmental protection, in planetary health and welfare. Well, that's my speech. I'm sorry I talked too long, but what are the next steps, Molly? What are the next steps for the program? What are we going to do?
I mean, I think your point about I think what I'm hearing from everybody is like, well, first of all, we want to start with us. We want to make sure we're not doing harm. So for example, and there's already power dynamics. There's people who have more experience, more, you know, the mentor-mentee has, I think it's equal, it shouldn't, but I think people come into it with that idea of a power asymmetry. So for me, like the really great thing would be to really scrutinize the recruiting, the form again, and also like the module 1 have like a direct, we can, you know, have a gender, have a power, gender and power sort of introductory, like integrated into the design of the program, so that we as mentors and mentees are not, you know, replicating these asymmetrical power dynamics in terms of gender. And then going out from there, some of the things like you mentioned, Arlette, with the, you know, actually making changes in our lives, in our workplaces, in our places where we're from, and having the exchange between mentors and mentees, because we're in different sectors and different geographies. And some of the mentees are probably more informed than some of the mentors and vice versa. So within the program, but I think for me, like the very most immediate, most important thing would be to ensure that all of the mentors and mentees are at least able to understand, be aware, and actually also approach the program with gender sensitivity. And that by design, we also are making sure all of the pieces are. Are you trying to say something, Arlette?
Yeah, I started writing sometimes I just write stuff that, you know, nurtures the hard drive of my computer or the cloud somewhere. But there was something that I started, I didn't, just started the ideation, I didn't get anything really dramatic written down. But it was precisely on this element about comparing global health mentorship models to health business and innovation, because what I see with the business innovators or the health innovators and business incubators is that they don't really understand health. They look at the solutions of what they think is the problem, but not, and that happens a lot with age tech. Oh, I think I have a good idea for that old person. You know, who cares if the old person doesn't think that's a good idea? You know, but I'm sort of like thinking here, if we couldn't put together like a white paper on cross-sector mentorship for health entrepreneurship in a way that that sort of around the lines of mentoring for impact, you know, adapting global health mentorship model to nurture health business innovation, or, you know, something along those lines, where we start modifying the discourse, if you will, of global health and mentorship in global health, and position it as, listen, we have all these decades of lessons learned, and you guys think that because you're looking for the next unicorn, you have the solution. Well, this is what we have to say. You know, that's just dropping an idea.
I love it. I love it.
And we could start, you know, by having that analysis of multipod, and that it's multidimensional, but that you can actually take a crossover to mentorship and business incubators. Because what you were mentioning, Fernando, about young people and men, and, you know, all these decades, and we still know that women-run businesses run better than male-run businesses, no matter what level. You know, it can be community-based, social entrepreneurship to more robust, higher level. And the data keeps telling you the same. No matter if it were, you know, the micro enterprises in the 70s in the Andean region, or, you know, nowadays. And I don't think we have looked at why. And we haven't looked at those gender elements. And part of the things that you were mentioning, Fernando, it's true. I mean, we know from the brain that male brain matures much later than the female brain. It's an issue of adaptability and survival. I mean, if mothers didn't know what to do with their kids, we would have been an extinct race a long time ago. While dads, who cares, you know? So anyway, it's that element of can be, if we want to defend global health, we need to bring it to what catches the attention now, and make a case of investment in global health, not because we want to save the world. And nobody, you know, nobody gives money to the poor little children that are dying, much less to women who are dying in birth or HIV or whatever. You know, that nobody has ever given money for that. We give money, you know, every time we wanted to make a case for investment in HIV, tuberculosis, whatever, maternal childhood, there were two things in common of everything. It's the movement creation, accompanied by campaigns, and, you know, and the business case. And I think this is the moment to revisit, perhaps from the perspective now of mentoring, and this cross-generational mentoring or intergenerational mentoring, and what this actually can help us think of global development of the future. I don't know.
I love that. But also, I would just a plea, you know, usually the case is being made to men. And I mean, not to stereotype, but there's also a legitimate case to be made for, you know, in countries or companies, you know, that idea of like those, you know, female leadership, like they have like gendered leadership and the qualities like assigned to female, like we could also want to have more of that. So like, so
Yeah,
not,
well,
so
look
not
at the
totally
women who are putting a lot of
disregarding.
money in this stuff, you know, Pivotal, you know, the wives of all these billionaires, you know, they have a lot of money and they're putting it in a different way, sort of different way. They started in a different way and then they got hammered by the global health community and said, you know, you're spreading money like confetti and whatever. And now they're going back and doing it more traditional way, which is a pity. I mean, the world is about experiment with new things. I don't care if you should throw it away as confetti as long as, you know, you actually do measure what you achieve and you can translate that to new practices. But a lot of women, I honestly think that this new phase will be of the former wives of the Gates and et cetera, et cetera. These are the women with a lot of money that have already committed money for development, but we don't get there. We need to get there. And we need to get there with a different discourse and different alternatives, because it's, you know, it's not just saying what we need, is how are we going to do it? How should they do it? If you had any of these women in front of you, you know, what would you say to them in investing in, why would it be important to throw $100 million into mentoring for global health? Why and how? And probably we wouldn't be able to do it. So, and that's where we need to anchor that. It's a communication thing, you know. It's really an argument of collective impact, of collective, you know, take a look at Schiffman or take a look at all these models, and they all tell you about that. It starts with sort of like an internal coherence before you move into the outside world to get you. Do we have internal coherence? And I think multipod, yes, it's small, but it's very particular. And I don't think that we should minimize its impact. I think we should be able to now, after all these years, say, okay, this is what we have, this is what we've learned, this is where the, you know, stuff, but this is what we propose for the future, considering that the future is anchored in money, business incubators, a search for the unicorns, you know. I did this article, okay, again, one of those things that I said about the donkey metaphor, basically saying that I didn't believe in unicorns because they didn't exist, but there's a lot of donkeys that know what to do. And we have to learn from them. And we prefer an army of little donkeys than the search for one unicorn. That if you manage to do it as an entrepreneur, everybody benefits except the country where it was born. Because if you have a good idea of the potential unicorn in Latin America, the first things that you have to do is register in Delaware so we can fund you.
Yeah.
So we pay taxes for everything else except the country where it was born. Well, this is now an opportunity to show that there are different ways of dealing with that.
Yeah,
Anyway, you know, I can get on and on. These things.
Only before you make the final remarks, I am so pleased for the presentation and the discussion, because this is exactly what we are looking for, this kind of approach. And again, we need to find a way in which this program can be the incubator for these ideas, and also take the approach. This is a business. We have the business of transformation. That's our business. That's our task. That's what we need to do. Our purpose. And why do we try to do it? I mean, Molly came up with this idea, and I think we should take it further and make sure that this group, or this small group, can continue some sort of conversation and trying to come with a plan. And right now, the people that I see is Arleti, Molly, Jelena, and Aili, and maybe we should get a few men later. What do you think?
I have a suggestion. It's actually an invitation, but it would need to be really quick.
Yeah.
I'm co-authoring a book for Elsevier on the
Mm.
future of global health and exponential technologies. I mean, it's sort of like
Wow.
looking in the future. It's been a nightmare. I must admit, it's really been a nightmare. Okay. And I won't even start getting into the nightmare. But I have an opportunity here to hold a chapter on this. If we can move fast and have it in about 3 weeks. I mean, I
Oh,
know,
okay.
put it in the book.
Okay. Oh, wow. Wonderful. Yeah.
And this could be, you know, I think this could be a nice contribution whenever the book comes, whether it's late this year or beginning of next year. But it looks at transformation in different aspects. And there are a couple of things that have been missing and that I've been like, you know, you know how it is when you're crafting something and it's never 100% what you want, right? But in this case, just listening to this, I think it's a great opportunity. If we can get our act together and do it in about 3 weeks, that would be the maximum.
So
That
tell us how soon
okay,
do we meet and
okay.
number of pages?
Yeah, probably about 10 pages.
Okay.
Not so it's not dramatically large, but let me by the end of the day, I'll send you something.
Okay. Okay. That would be great.
Okay. Let me
We
look at the program again and just find the slot for it.
And have you looked at the website of Women in Global Health? Because they are working on the highest levels, political levels, ministers and, prime ministers. And of course, they go to all the meetings of WHO and the United Nations because they are promoting that agenda at the highest political level. So take a look at their website and see if they have something. But the idea of that chapter, Molly, what do you think? We jump into that opportunity, no? And
Yeah,
just
it sounds
when
great.
we should meet again with the people who are here and start with the ideas and write the chapter. Okay. Molly, please.
Okay, yeah, I know we're near our overtime maybe. I don't know if you had it booked till 12:30 or 12, but thank you everyone. I think that, we are the change. We here and mentors and mentees are the change. Like, so we are the future. I mean, literally. Well, I'm not, but the younger people are. So, and we need that intergenerational approach and all of the intersecting and diverse, like, we are it. So I think, yeah, I agree. It doesn't matter about the size. We have all the pieces, we have the vision. All of us are part of this program, I think, for all of the right reasons. So I think we should take advantage of this opportunity within the program and beyond and, cross-fertilize these ideas and actually take them into our countries and our lives. These are the future leaders of the countries. So I don't think we have to worry about what is the future and fitting into that. We are creating the future. Like, that's literally like the beauty of Multipod and the partnership with CGHI. There's also, it's big. So I'm so excited about this conversation. And I know we ran out of time. I'm sorry, I had all the technical difficulties, but I think we can continue like through a Google Doc and then have, meet further.
Madeline, you didn't say anything. I mean, we would like to hear your thoughts.
I didn't say anything.
No. Yeah.
Well, I mean, listening to this, I think it's really fascinating because I'm in another group of sort of high level people who are looking at the whole humanitarian area and crossing over in terms of obviously public health and education and child protection. People from the Carter Center. I mean, that level of people and people who are international. And we've been there, the discussion has been a lot in terms of obviously moving people, right? Changing people's minds, and a lot of discussion about, how is it right now in this world that empathy doesn't exist? Um, and so I'm sort of interested in, I was very interested in hearing about sort of the idea of making harder financial and business cases. But I also think obviously about audiences and cultures and how that crosses over with all of this so that people embrace it in some sense and don't reject it. And I mean, Dr. Zacharias, I mean, what you were talking about was culture, right? And so we've been looking at different audiences. I mean, even audiences of, religions, right? I mean, different religions. I mean, and how we, discussions about how we worked in certain public health areas, like in, communities, and gotten certain churches not to stigmatize and embrace, and then look at, look specifically at women and girls, and how they could raise the issue and not stigmatize that sector of society. So I think a lot of it has to do with what our audiences are and where we want to go. And I mean, you were talking about the business sector, which I found really fascinating in that aspect, in terms of how they look at something and what are the hard facts and how we can move there. So I was thinking about how that fit into mentoring, and how that part fit into mentoring, and how culture fit into mentoring. Because what I've found, particularly in my years with UNICEF, is that culture ends up playing a very, very big part in dynamic in
Well,
terms
we
of.
have, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead. There was a delay. Go ahead, please.
No.
Molly, I mean, we are over the time, so please
No,
say.
no, sorry. Sorry, there was a delay and you weren't finished speaking. I thought you were. I'm echoing what you said. I think we have a whole bunch of translators, right? We have all these different cultures and sectors. So to your point about how do we translate it? It's such a cool opportunity for everyone to go and be the translators, like ambassadors as translators too.
We have all religions, more than 60 disciplines, 130 countries represented in the program. And we also have 70 different languages and all sorts of cultures because of the variety and number of countries in the program. Our critical mass is now around 500 people, 420 or 30 mentees, including this class, the class of 2025, and about 70, 80 mentors. So we have the prime matter, and if we can find 10, 15, 20 people that could start with this, that would be great. That would be great. Molly, how do you want to proceed?
Well, if it's, what's that?
No, please, Molly, please.
What would it be okay if, I mean, I've taken some notes here. Like I said, I could share them in the form of a Google Doc so that, because I feel like we ran out of time a lot, and there were still further thoughts, Madeline, Arlette, Helena, everybody's got probably things to add, but I could sort of start an outline at least to see where we got. and be able to share it, and then we could, you know, continue with some of the actionable. I think there are some natural actions and next steps that we could take forward. That would be my suggestion, and then to circle back and move it forward.
There's a rush because we need to have this chapter in 3 weeks. So when do you suggest we could convene again?
Let's see if we can, shall we take the gender perspective of the analysis of multipod? Okay, so let me think of a potential title. Just, you know, something that can help frame what the chapter was. I'm gonna go back to the table of contents and see where I would fit it, and I would fit it in terms of gender, and then sort of like weave a little bit some of the thoughts. And by today, I'll send you something, and then, you know, take it from there. And yeah, because so you can have I'll send you, you know, sort of like the global perspective of the book. You know, when this book started, there were two things that hadn't happened yet. The first one was ChatGPT, which of course made the book obsolete in a month. And the second one was Mr. Trump and his decisions that made global financing an obsolete model. So anyway, so this is, I find it fantastic opportunity to reinvent the future, whatever it is. I don't care, you know. So the spirit is this, let's not just rehash and think about everything that has happened in our experience, but I'll say in light of that, and in light of this new world of technology, of exponential technology, and of sudden chaos in global health funding or whatever, you know, what do we learn about intergenerational mentoring of young people for this new global health world? I mean, something along, you know, from a gender perspective. I think taking a gender perspective is good. I think it's very good. Because it focuses, you know, you can, it's so large, you know, everything that you need to do.
Gender power, global health, gender power, whatever.
Okay, by the end of today, I most likely in a couple of hours, I'll send something. What should I do? Should I send it, email? I'll send it to you, Fernando.
Okay.
And then, you know, because we'll need to see, well, who's the group that really wants to do this. So, and then you can sort it out and whatever. Okay?
Yeah. Yes. Good. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.
Do I think, do I have your email, Molly?
Yeah.
Is it if you reply all, or it should be on the invite, right? In the reply,
Yeah.
like if you were to
Yeah.
look at the invite, I think the email's on
Okay,
there.
I will look for it then.
Can you
see,
see,
I have it
here's
here.
my email is, I'm putting in the chat just to make it easier.
Molly Fitz, 2011.
Yeah.
Okay,
Gmail.
cool. So I'll
Thank
send it
you.
to you and Fernando, and
Okay.
then you take it from there.
Okay, awesome.
Unless
you.
you want me to send it to, I mean,
Multiple.
Yelena, you're here, and
Well, send it to everybody.
Madeline and Eileen.
And Melanie, please.
okay. Madeline Eisner, Eisner. Okay, I'll send it to you guys.
To multiple mentoring, because then Anaili will, she's the one that can communicate and distribute everything.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
I mean, I think this is a fabulous idea. Who is the who for the book? Who is exactly the audience?
That's been a question. Because it's a book that is attempting to bring together people from health, people from development, and people from technology. Because normally we don't bring them together. And that's the challenge. That's the real challenge of the book. And but let's see what happens.
Okay, great.
I like to create havoc. Fernando knows this. I mean,
There's
that's my
opportunity in chaos.
specialty is creating havoc.
That's good. We need more havoc, good trouble, as they say.
So, well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's so good.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great ideas.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take those ideas to other places.
Good.
that's what we
good.
want. That's what we want us all to do. We're fertilizing all around all the good things.
No, it's really, yeah, it's really, really, really interesting. I love it.
Great.
Neat. Okay, so
Bonnie and I are going to stay to talk
Yes.
about.
That'll be good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
We're
you,
gonna-
everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Dr. Molly, if you can just stop the recording, please.
Oh, am I recording?
Anaili, I thought you
I
were.
recorded, but